Hello, Guy. My name is Jason. I'm 16 years old, and today I want to tell you about the story about how bad I was treated in right my own house. I was born without a father since birth. He left me and my mother, and listened to his family married another rich woman. My mother was pregnant with me at the time, and she was depressed when my father broke up to her. She hated my father, and also hated the child that he left to her, and that was me. I have not met my father, nor feeling my father's love, and my mother also hates me. So I kept growing up in my own house like that, but there is still a lucky thing that she still sent me to school like any other child. Until one day, she took a man and two daughters home. I peeked out to see them. Those two girls were about the same age as me. Both of them were in very pretty skirts, like the two princesses. My mother saw me standing at such an angle and she got angry. She called me out loudly to introduce me one by one. She pointed at the man standing next to me and told me to call him my father, and the other two girls, the older sister named Fidelma, the younger one named Fiona, and made me greet them. The three of them strangely entered my house, looking at everyone with a smile on their faces. I thought that finally I had a complete family with a father, a mother, and a younger sister. But those are just the thoughts of innocent children. Ever since their arrival, my life has become even worse. My mother gave me housework. I had to learn to cook and wash clothes like a real valet. In the beginning, it was not good for me to do these things, so I was scolded a lot by my mother. If I did not finish my job, she would punish me by not giving me food. At those times, the two sisters that my mother brought back only made bad faces and laughed at me. They enjoyed it and thought I deserve it. On the dining room table, my mother will give the younger siblings delicious food. Looking at those smiling faces and thanking my mother, it was so fake. As for me, my mother did not even care about me, did not know that I was following her actions, and my heart was jealous of them. My head just wanted to fall to the table. I tried to finish the meal quickly and then leave. Why did my mother always love and give affectionate eyes to those two children of the new father, but always angry with me? I was her child. Mom and Dad were extremely happy. Every time he returned from work, he always brought her expensive jewelry, princess dresses for his two children. I was the only one who did not receive any gifts. At those times, he would laugh and said gently to me, "Sorry, next time I will definitely remember and buy gifts for you." And it was an opportunity for my two sisters to laugh at me again. Well, that's fine. No one in my family has ever cared for me. This summer, my mom and dad discussed about planning a trip together. My younger siblings and I had to go to school, so we could not go with them. Before she left, she gave me a bunch of keys, which had the keys of every room in the house so that I could move in and out to clean rooms. But once I left it somewhere and had to find it. I could not lose them. My mother would definitely scold and punish me. So I was panicked, looking everywhere in the house, but I still could not find it. Searching all at once, I was sweating all over my shirt, sitting blankly in the living room. I was engrossed in thinking when the two girls laughed startled me. They handed me the keys and said they found them in the washing machine. I could not think of anything and immediately returned the key to my handle. So the worry of being punished by my mother no longer exists and made me feel extremely comfortable. My parents finally returned. They happily walked into the house and went upstairs, carrying lots of big bags of gift in their hands. Not long after she entered the room, I heard her screams ring out loud. After that was the sound of a heavy mother footsteps running down. I looked bewilderedly, looking up towards the room upstairs, anticipating immediately felt scared, perhaps in the messy room? No, it cannot be. I remembered that I had cleaned the room very cleanly. Mom's gaze stopped on me for a long time. The muscles on her face were getting coward, looking very angry. She asked me to give that money immediately. I immediately as if frozen after listening to her. Looking up at innocent eyes, I answered that I never took that money. My mother certainly didn't believe me because it was only me who had the key to her room. Finally, she pushed me into an empty and dark room. It was the basement. Oh no, I'm very scared of this place. At the meal, my mother just threw me a dry bread, so I did not starve to death. I hoped she would believe me a little, but I myself did not have evidence to vindicate myself, and I fell asleep in the midst of that thought. I dreamed back a few days ago when I lost the key. It was the two sisters who found it and gave it back to me. From then on, everything in the house went on quietly. I was like a ghost in the house. I did not talk to anyone, nobody spoke to me either. My two younger siblings were still laughing and playing with each other, and my mother was still smiling and side by side with her husband. 2 months later, my family held a party. The guests came very crowded. All of them were wealthy friends of Mom and Dad. Mom talked to me and told me not to embarrass her. I bowed and quickly answered yes. She turned away from her usual smiling face and went to the door to welcome the guests. At that day, my family also had a lot of delicious food prepared, including a cake with many layers that every kid like me liked. But without my mother's consent, I did not dare to touch it, just dared to watch and crave for it. Today, my two sisters were dressed in beautiful dresses. My mother looked very pleased to recommend them to the guests. Afterwards, they saw me from afar and deliberately ran to me to play. From the last incident, I no longer have a good view of these two naughty children. So when I was trying to get out of the circle that they were playing around and I accidentally dropped the cake and some of the fruits came out with a jangling sound. I was still frantic when my mother and father heard the crying of the two girls and ran right here. She gave me a slap in front of everyone and pulled my hand away, pushed me into the basement again, and slammed the door shut. I put my hand on my face to feel the heat still on my face. That day, the door did not open anymore. Even a bread I did not have to eat. Scrambling to sit in a corner of the basement, I did not even know what time it was. There was no light for me. I felt so scared and depressed. I tried to search for the door to get out. Luckily, I have a bunch of keys in my pocket. Gingerly inserted the key into the lock and opened the door to crawl out. It was unclear how far I could go, because I was too exhausted. I fainted on the road. Waking up, I found myself lying in a hospital, next to the man I saw before fainting. Sighing, I still felt lucky that I had not got caught by my mother. The man named Devlin was on his way home and saw me. The doctor said I was hungry and slightly malnourished, and my face was still swollen. Uncle Devlin paid for my medical expenses and took me to his home. It was a house full of love. This was the first impression when I opened the door to enter. He has a wife and 2 sons. That day I ate with them and slept on a comfortable bed and dreamed of beautiful dreams. The next day they asked me for the wound on my face. I quietly recounted my life. He felt sorry for me and she hugged me and cuddled me, saying they wanted me to live with them in this new home, which would be my new family. But I was wondering about my old house, now that she knows I am no longer in the warehouse. In the end, I will still have to return to that house. I will go through the procedures to become a son off Uncle Devlin, live and start a happy life again, not the life I experienced under the old house with people who do not love me. Thank you for watching my story. If you have something to say, please comment right below this video.